Hello and welcome back to Asian Cinema Season 2 and Project Jackie. Another film from Jackie Chan, obviously. Rumble in the Bronx. I'd heard of this one. I must have heard of it when I was a kid or it was on TV or something. There's like a few of the films he made in the 90s that I'm aware of. And this is one of them, and I obviously had never seen it. So I picked it up on Blu-ray and we checked it out, obviously, and watched it and are now going to talk about it. So, Rumble in the Bronx is a Hong Kong film not made in America. They made it in Vancouver, which, you can plainly tell in the background of some shots when there's like mountains and stuff when it's supposed to be set in the Bronx or in New York. But they did a fairly good job of making it seem like New York for most of it. And so it's dubbed into English. There are English. I'll leave that in for free. Most of the cast are English or Canadian actors speaking English, but it's dubbed into English, and so you have to just get used to it basically. But it is him, Jackie Chan, doing his voice at this point. He could speak English well enough to do that sort of thing, and it plays off fairly well. So I kind of just got used to it and adjusted. So this story, Jackie comes into, I forget the character's name, he comes to New York and stays with his uncle, I think. It's always an uncle or something.
Yeah.
And his uncle owns...
He's getting married to
what
will be his aunt.
His uncle's getting married to a woman, and he's going away for a while, and he's going to sell his store. Jackie's uncle owns like a grocery store in the Bronx, and he sells it to a woman played by Anita Mui. I wish there was a way to just find out how to bloody pronounce people's names, but she was in Drunken Master 2, and I think we both loved her in that film, and she does a lot of fighting in that film, so I was really hoping to see her do some fighting in this one, and I was kind of really disappointed that we didn't, but she's got really good comedic timing, and a little bit of an over-the-top comedic style, but it really works for films like this, where, Jackie's kind of physical humor is a bit over the top as well. So she plays a woman who comes in and buys this grocery store, and she's trying to get used to running it, and Jackie kind of diligently stays in New York for a while to help her out if she has any problems. And there are some problems. Yeah, so there's gangs who come in, and you commented on this when we were watching this, and I'd never really thought about it before. There's a scene where Jackie is coming up against the gang. They've kind of trapped him. They've lured him in down to this alley. And there's a dead end basically. So he's on one end and all this gang are on the other end, and they just start throwing bottles at him. And he keeps looking up, and I love how throughout the scene he keeps looking up to try and find some way out of it, but there isn't any way out of it. He's like desperately looking for something, but there's nothing. And they just pelt him with bottles basically, and he just gets cut up, and it goes into like slow motion, and then he's on the floor, he's surrounded by glass, and you've said, I've never seen him terrorized like this. And it's true. And it's a very good...
He's completely helpless.
Completely helpless, yeah. Because usually in his films, he does get beaten up in the fights and stuff, and people always compare that to Bruce Lee, how Bruce Lee was always shown as being very strong, whereas Jackie, readily let his character get beaten up and put in compromising situations. But in this film, he really gets the shit kicked out of him, and it's like almost like a hard scene to watch. But that just made it different to me. Like, I thought, this is like a different way to look at it.
I said it felt like Logan.
Okay. In what sense?
Because Logan, it's Wolverine, and he's not like the strong person that we're used to seeing.
Right, because
it makes you feel uncomfortable because he's so helpless, and there's nothing really he can do. No matter how hard he fights, they're still overpowering him. And that's what Logan felt like in a way. You usually when you see him fight, you're like, oh, he's gonna kick your ass anyway. But in this one, I felt like, what's he gonna do? All I wanted him to do was just run.
But there's nowhere to run.
But in other movies, he'll have 10 people at him, and he'd beat them easily.
Yeah.
So it's very different.
Yeah, and it's just a very intimidating scenario, the way they've set it up. And I honestly thought they were going to lean into racism a little bit here. I thought the gang were going to, throw some slurs at him, oh, get out of our country or something like that. I'm glad they didn't, because I was expecting it, especially back then in the 90s, it would be more readily used in a movie, but I like that they didn't. It was just more this gang territory thing, so it just made it. I don't know. It would have.
Well, one of their
It would.
gang members and the one girl was Chinese.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they wouldn't say that in this one.
Yeah, but like I don't know. Maybe it would have been realistic, but I just like that they didn't go there because I thought it would have been all too easy to do that. But I really felt like this threat for him, and the woman who lures him into the trap ends up being a character that we learn a bit more about later on. She has a younger brother in a wheelchair, and at first I found it hard to empathize with her character because she's not very nice to her young brother. But then you realize, well, where's the parents? Like, obviously something happened and she's been left alone. She's a young kid. So I like the story in this one. I really thought it was good. And he was as good as ever. You know, at this point he's around his prime, I think, physically. Around the kind of mid-80s to mid-90s. And some of the action scenes are really, really, really good. There's a scene where he jumps across from one building to the other. You know, there's no wires going on there, and but I liked how, like, for the first half, he was getting chased by this gang. They're terrorizing him and the grocery store, and I just really liked the story. And I feel like there's more that I want to say about it because I really did actually love this one. I think that it has one of the best stories of one of his films that I was really engaged and gripped into. Some of the acting's not so good. Some of the gang members, you can tell, aren't like, you know, the best actors in the world. And then when the voices are dubbed over a little bit, it doesn't quite work. But I kind of went along with it as far as that's concerned. And then I also liked how there was a third, not gang, but like a third group of characters who turned out to really be like the main threat. And so the kind of street gang...
Like La Puta.
Yeah, the street gang thing, I like how that changed. It didn't change too much, but it changed to the point where all of our characters get involved in something much bigger than all of them, and that leads to a bigger finale. And that finale, holy shit, the hovercraft stuff. Like, unbelievable. Like, he jumps...
Why is it called a hovercraft?
Because it hovers. It's like, I don't know how it actually works, but there's like
I mean, like it just floated and rolled.
Yeah, that's what hover. Well, I guess the point is it can go across water and land, but I don't know too much about hovercrafts other than in German they're called a Luftkissenfahrzeug, which was the only German word I remember from doing German class for 2 years in high school. And
I don't think that was a hovercraft.
It's a hovercraft. It is absolutely a hovercraft. If it's not, then
I thought a hovercraft was a blimp.
A blimp? What, in the sky?
Yeah.
No, that's a blimp or a dirigible, huh?
Hovering.
No, it doesn't hover like literally off the ground. It's just, I guess, I don't know. Because obviously in the film they drive over people with a hovercraft. It doesn't kill them, but it's, you know, it's kind of, I guess it's meant to be. It's almost like a bouncy castle track underneath this thing, and I don't know the inner workings of a hovercraft. But it made for some really exciting action set pieces when they take the hovercraft off the sea, through like streets and stuff, and there's even like people on the beach. And I can tell those extras aren't in the safest place in the world. Like, I was like, holy shit, they're really cutting this close. So again, I get involved and sucked into the action. There's a fight scene with Jackie and the street gang in a warehouse, which was, you know, just his typical amazing stuff, like jumping around fridge doors and going through like trolleys and stuff. Awesome. Really, really great stuff.
That was, proper Jackie Chan.
Proper Jackie Chan, great stuff. And
again, all the members were there, but he managed to do quite well in that scenario.
Yeah.
But that's because he was in their territory and probably surprised them, and it was a smaller area, whereas in the other one they were just chasing him with bikes and...
Yeah, exactly, stuff. And they had weapons or whatnot. The only thing about that scene in the alley is that they set up the bottles on another gang member's head, and they kind of batter it off with a baseball bat. And I'm like, that would just smash the bottles, and no, once it did, and I like how they did put that in there. But you'd have to be so perfect to hit it at the point where it wouldn't break. I just thought, why not throw them? But I don't know. It's something I thought about. But I think that scene is really, really effective, and I really felt their kind of looming threat against him, and how he's always trying to help people out, and these guys are just being fairly unrelenting. But again, Anita Mui, don't know how you pronounce that name, it really bugs me. She was great in the film. Not a big role, but I liked her. There's a scene where basically she's in a room and the room gets destroyed and she's left there sat on the toilet. It's just like... And then she stands up, her pants around her ankles. It's that kind of like over the top humor, but I think she's great and she really works. Obviously, I think the year before this was Drunken Master 2, so obviously Jackie enjoyed working with her and brought her in for this film as well. But overall, I just think some of the action scenes were great, some of the fight scenes were great. It wasn't overkill, it wasn't like there was an action scene every 10 minutes, and so I got into the story. I thought he was really good, and again, the whole hovercraft stuff at the end was just a really great big set piece. There's stuff in a car, you know, it's just a nice kind of chase set piece action sequence. And I feel like I should have recorded this video sooner after we watched it. It's been about a week or two, but I do remember after it going, that's probably one of my favorites. Like, I don't think it's a great film. I don't know. It's tough because you have to judge it on its own merits. It's like, you know, an action film like this, but as far as his movies go, really, really enjoyed the story, got into it, and the action scenes were great as well. So, yeah, anything you'd like to add at all, really?
I don't have anything to add other than probably disagree, because you had the cover here, and I was just like, what is this movie? Because we watched a couple of Jackie Chan movies now, and they all start to blend together.
Yeah.
And then when you said that they were speaking in English, I'm like, okay, so that's one that we haven't seen for a while. And I was, right. And then I remembered, and then it's like.
But neither of us had seen this before.
Yeah. No. But it wasn't bad or anything. It just wasn't that memorable for me. Obviously, if I thought that it was one of the best, I would have definitely remembered everything straight away.
Of course you would. Yeah.
And I'm just like. It's like remembering a dream. I'm just picking like these pieces together and stuff. It was good. It was entertaining, but it's not my favorite Jackie Chan movie.
No, not my favorite, but
a long shot.
It would be up there. Like, I think like years into the future.
You said it was one of your favorites.
Yeah, one of. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like, you know, I don't know. It's I don't know. I think that it's underrated. Then again, I have no idea how people rate these films at all. So that's a complete bollocks statement. But in the future, I could see myself going, okay, let's watch some Jackie Chan films. What are we going to put in what are we going to put in the cycle? And I would think of Rumble in the Bronx. You know, it's not up there with like the great ones from the 80s, like Police Story, Project A, etc. But as far as I don't know, I really thought that this was a really good one, mainly because I really enjoyed the story and where it went, and some of the more ridiculous aspects of it were just really fun and cool to see. And so they clearly put some money behind this one, and it showed, and I really liked it. So that is Rumble in the back cover of the movie. So there we go. That is Rumble in the Bronx. Yeah, I actually loved it. So there we go. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you. 'Cause